Good evening, friends. Hope you all are doing good. I know this is lockdown is going on and the virus its peak is rising in the Hyderabad and in southern India almost. So I hope you guys are taking all the care. So be safe. Take care of everyone, including your family member. And I will say, yes, it's a testing time for everyone. So it is very difficult to remain focused on your studies, but try different techniques like meditation, exercise, and talk to your friends, talk to your family members, talk to teachers, and to relax yourself, to relieve yourself, and try to study more and more in this lockdown period. So, friends, today we are going to see the next chapter of 9th standard uh, NCRT. That is the second chapter. It is about physical features of India. So, this is little detailed chapter compared to previous physical features chapter, and there will be one more chapter in 11th standard NCERT which will go in much detail about physical features of India. Okay, so friends, physical features means what? Physical features means external appearance. When we call a physical feature of a person, then what do we see? So he is a person. We see what is his height. Okay. So how are his hands? How are his feet? What is the color of the skin? What is the color of his eyes? How long his hairs are? Okay. So so all these things we see in the physical features. So similarly, India has a physical feature. So definitely it does not have hands and legs and eyes, but definitely it has various physical features. It has an external appearance. So today we are going to see how the external appearance of India is made. What are its various divisions? What are its various parts? Okay, and what are, or in a one way, what are the organs? What we can see externally. So, when we are talking about physical features, there are six important physical features of the India. So, first one is northern mountains or Himalayan mountains, then northern plains, third peninsular plateau. Okay, then you have a Indian desert, then you have a coastal plain, and then you have islands. So these are the six parts or six organs or of the physical features of the India, as we can say. Now let us understand the details about each and every physical feature of the India. So let us start first with the Himalayan mountains. So when we think of Himalayan mountains, definitely a huge lofty white color mountain comes in front of our eyes. Many of you have visited these Himalayan mountains. So let us understand about the Himalayan mountains in brief. So friends, there are three divisions of Himalayan mountains. We can say horizontally. Okay, these horizontal divisions. First one is most, the longest one, the most continuous. Second one is less continuous, less long. Third one is shortest, and its most discontinuous range. Okay, so Himalayan mountain, geologically it is a fold mountain. We have seen the difference between fold mountain and fault mountain. So Himalayan mountain is a fold mountain. It is made up of sedimentary rocks. Okay, it goes from west to east division direction. So Himalayas are in different direction in the different stretches of the India. So in northeast India, it is somewhere, sometimes it is east to west direction. If you go to the Kashmir, it is west to east direction. If you go to the Arunachal Pradesh, it is southwest to northeast direction. So direction changes, but here it is mentioned that it is west to east direction. So overall direction of the Himalaya is west to east. So we can say it starts from the Indus River over here to the Brahmaputra River in the Arunachal Pradesh. So it runs between Indus and Brahmaputra river. So the total length of the Himalaya is almost 2400 kilometers. Width wise, if you see, the width is more in the western side of the Himalaya, in the Kashmir Himalaya, and it is less in the Arunachal Himalayas. Getting it? But if you see the height or steepness, height is more in the Arunachal Himalaya or northeastern Himalaya and less in the Kashmir Himalayas. Getting it? But width wise, it is more in the Kashmir Himalaya. So altitude wise, variations is definitely there. So as we have seen, altitudinally it is more in the northeast and less in the western Himalayas. Okay. Now, as I told you, there are three parallel ranges of the Himalaya. Okay. So first one, the longest one here in the graph, you can see this one is called as a Himadri or Himachal Himalaya. Getting it? Greater Himalaya, sorry, it is called as a Greater Himalaya or Himadri. Okay. So this is the most continuous range. It is unbroken range. It is first range which has been formed. It is greatest in the height. So many high mountains like you have K2 is there, then Kanchenjunga is there, then you have uh, Mount Everest is there. All the lofty mountains or all the lofty peaks you will find in the Greater Himalayas or Himadri. So average elevation of this is 6,000 meters or 6 kilometers. So it's a huge or very high mountain. So this mountain is made up of sedimentary rocks. So core of this mountain is made up of granite. Okay, so it is made up of sedimentary rock. Somewhere it is made up of metamorphic rock, and very few part is made up of basaltic rock or igneous rock as well. Now let us understand the second part of the second range of the Himalaya, that is Himachal Himalaya or Lesser Himalaya. So you can see this Pir Panjal, Dhauladhar, Nagatibba, Masuri. These are the Himachal Himalayas or Lesser Himalayas. So this is a second range. So this altitude is lesser than the Greater Himalaya. So it's almost 4,500 meters maximum and 3,700 meters minimum height. So average width is 50 kilometers. So width is decreasing as we are going to the northeastern region. So as we know, there are three important ranges. Pir Panjal, which is the longest range. So Pir Panjal is the longest range. After that you have Dhauladhar, then you have a Nagatibba, then you have a Masuri. Masuri, our UPSC training center, okay, is in the Masuri. You'll have to go there after you get selected into the UPSC exam. So this is in the lesser Himalayas. Okay. So it also has a valley of Kashmir, Kangra Valley, where Kangra Valley, you know, the good amount of good quality tea is grown. Most of the green tea that you drink is from the Darjeeling or Kangra Valley. Okay, and Kullu Valley as well. So these important valleys are there in the lesser Himalaya. So various hill stations are there, like you have McLeodganj, you have Nainital, you have Masuri. So these are the various hill stations which are there in the lesser Himalayas. Okay. Now next to that is the Shivalik hills. Shivaliks are actually made up of more sedimentary rocks. It is more sedimentary than the rest of the Himalayas or greater or lesser Himalaya. It is a third range. It is the smallest range. It width-wise as well as length-wise. So the Shivalik width is very small, 10 to 50 kilometers, and altitude is again lesser than the lesser Himalayas. Up till 1,100 meters is its height. Okay. So what happened, friends? When these two Himalayas were formed, this is the first Himalaya, this is the second Himalaya. All the rivers, they came with their depositions and they dropped their sediments on the foothills of the lesser Himalayas. These foothills of the lesser Himalayas, they got uplifted and Shivaliks were formed. So Shivaliks are made up of highly unconsolidated materials. So it is very fragile mountain. It is very muddy mountain. Okay. So here Shivalik, and between Shivalik and lesser Himalayas you have longitudinal valleys. Okay. These longitudinal valleys are known as the dunes. Okay. So they are between lesser Himalayas and Shivalik. So Dehra Dune, Patli Dune, Kalkaji Dune, Jammu Dune, Pathankot Dune. So many dunes are there in the between lesser Himalayas and Shivalik. So friends, this is about these three Himalayas. Now let us understand these were the horizontal divisions of Himalayas. Now let us understand the longitudinal divisions or vertical divisions of Himalaya. Longitudinally, Himalayas have been divided according to the rivers through which they are flowing. So from Indus to Satluj, the Himalaya which is passing, we are calling it as a Punjab Himalaya or Kashmir Himalaya. Getting it? Satluj to Kali, we are calling it as a Kumaon Himalaya. Getting it? Okay, so longitude wise, these divisions of Himalaya have been demarcated according to the river. So between Satluj to Indus, it is a Punjab Himalaya or Kashmir Himalaya. Then Satluj to Kali, you have a Kumaon Himalaya. Kali to Tista, you have a Nepal Himalaya. We are not going to study the Nepal Himalaya, no, not in our syllabus. And then after that, Tista to Brahmaputra, you have a Assam Himalayas. Getting it? Brahmaputra, or one of the tributary of Brahmaputra called as a Dihang. So Tista to Dihang, we have a Assam Himalayas. So friends, these are the longitudinal divisions of Himalaya. Then after longitudinal divisions of Himalaya, Himalayas take U-turn from over here like this. Okay, there is a Dihang Gorge or Namcha Barwa Gorge. Okay, so there Himalayas are taking a U-turn over here from Arunachal Pradesh. So they are known as Purvanchals. So Purvanchal, okay, so they are one of the very important Himalayas. Okay, their direction is north-south, Purvanchal Himalaya. So they have different ranges. So here you have a Patkai Bum, Naga Hills, Mizo Hills, Manipur Hills. So different ranges are there. So they are also discontinuous ranges. They are not one range. They are not single range. Getting it? So they are called as a Purvanchal Himalayas. So these Purvanchal Himalayas, they mark the end of the Himalaya. Okay. So at this side, you had a Kashmir Himalaya, okay, on the western side, and the eastern side you have a Purvanchal Himalaya. So friends, these are the vertical as well as longitudinal divisions of Himalaya. Now, after Himalaya, second physical feature of the physiography of India is the Indian plains. So you guys know that huge amount of rivers originated from the Himalaya. They were very big rivers since the ancient time, and they brought huge sediments deposited into the foothills of the foothills of the Himalayas, and the huge sediments formed a plain. We are calling it as a northern plain. So what are these northern plains? These green color plains you can see, which have been formed since ancient times. They are called as a northern plain. So here they are also called as a Ganga Brahmaputra Sindhu plain. So they are also partly in the they are also in the Pakistan. Getting it? Some part of them is in the Pakistan. Okay. So they are formed because of the three rivers Sindhu or Indus, Ganga, and Brahmaputra. So they are also as long as Himalayas because they have formed at the foothills of Himalayas. So almost 2,400 kilometers long and huge. The width is huge up to 320 kilometers. Huge width is there. Okay. So these rivers, so these plains are very fertile. They are made up of alluvial soil. Okay. So alluvial soil is a highly fertile soil. Anything can be grown in this alluvial soil, and these rivers have very high speed in the at the start of the plain. So as they come from Himalaya to here, they have very high speed, but as they go downward, the speed reduces. Getting it? That's why here islands have been formed. Getting it? Islands have been formed. Some few islands are very famous, like Gangasagar Islands in the Ganga River and Majuli Island in the Brahmaputra River. So Majuli is the world's biggest living riverine island. Getting it? So it's one of the biggest living riverine island in the world. Majuli have been designated as a district in the Assam. Okay. So these plains, it has a three important parts. Getting it? So it has a divided into three parts. So as these rivers are coming down, because of their sediments, okay, they are disturbing their own course and they are getting divided into small streams. They are known as distributaries. So these things we are going to learn into the when I'll come to the Hyderabad, we are going to see that in the various landform chapters. So as I told you, these plains can be divided into three sections. First is the Punjab plains. So they are the Punjab plains. They are into the Pakistan as well as in the Punjab. Getting it? So most of the part of this plain is in the Pakistan. So this plain is a highly fertile region of one of the most fertile region of the world. Okay. So this plain is, we can say this plain has been formed because of the five important rivers. Which are those five important rivers? You have a Sindhu, you have a Jhelum, you have a Chenab, you have a Ravi, Bias, Satluj, also Yamuna, Ganga. So these Punjab plains have been formed because of the five important rivers. Okay, so these five important rivers. So this water is also called as a Ab or AB. Okay, so the most fertile region have been formed between the two rivers. So that's why these regions, these regions are also famous for these Abs, or the region between the two rivers. They are also called as the Do Abs. So Punjab means the land between the five rivers. So Ab means water, and this Punjab means land between five rivers. Getting it? So this section of this plain is dominated by the Doabs. Okay, so this land between these two rivers will be called as a Doab. Okay, so like we have Doab in the Karnataka, KT Doab, Krishna Tungabhadra Doab in between Vijayanagara Empire was formed and very famous. Okay, so second part is a Ganga plain. So this was a Punjab. Okay, this region was a Punjab. Now Ganga. Up till here you have a Ganga plain. So it goes into the Uttarakhand, it goes into Haryana, UP, Bihar, some part of the Jharkhand and West Bengal. So this is a Ganga plain, and last part is the Brahmaputra plain. So these are the third parts. Okay, this is the first part. Okay, this is the second part, and this is the third part. So these are the third parts of these northern Indian plains. So they are very, very fertile. Anything can be grown in the northern Indian plains. You just throw anything, anything will grow. It's very fertile because of the alluvial sand. Now we can these alluvial plains are not just as we call it as a plain. They are not just a simple feature. They have various elevation. They have different relief features. So according to relief feature also, they can be divided into various parts. Okay. So now in this map you see this is a river. This blue color thing you can see is a river. So from and this is the Himalayas. Okay, so in between you have this plain region. So now you can see from the Himalaya, as rivers are coming, they are bringing huge sediments. So all the huge sediments are deposited over here. So okay, so this is known as Bhabar. So they are huge, they are like boulders, they are like stones, huge stones. So when river comes, it disappears under these boulders and stones. You won't be able to see the streams, but they are flowing below the below the these boulders. Getting it is known as Bhabar. So below that, river deposited little finer deposits. This is known as the Tarai region, specifically Nepal and Bihar. Here stream reappears. So this is a finer soil. Streams are reappearing. So that is why this region is very marshy and boggy. Lots of marsh and bog you will see in this region. So this region you'll have a good grasslands, well-developed forest is also there in the Nepal and Bihar and UP region. In UP you have this Dudhwa National Park in the Tarai region. So huge amount of wildlife you will see in the Tarai region. Getting it? So this is the second part of the plain, that is a Tarai. So first one was a Bhabar, second is a Tarai. Now third region is known as a Bhangar. This is the oldest, finest alluvium deposits. Okay, so this is the oldest deposits. The maximum portion of this plain is occupied by the Bhangar. Okay, so largest portion of this northern plain, this is covered by the Bhangar, and here they are not very fertile. This is the oldest deposits, and you will see small stone, limestone made up of lime will be scattered over here in this region. So that's why these stones are known as kankars. Getting it? So this is a Bhangar, and you will see the oldest alluvium, and the deposits over here you will call it as a kankar. Okay. So below the Bhangar, the most fertile, closest to the river, the region is known as a Khadar. So most fertile region of the plain known as a Khadar. So this alluvium is a new and younger type of alluvium, because every year river will flood. So this alluvium soil will renew itself. So most fertile soil is a closest to the river bank, called as a Khadar, and it is very suitable for the intensive cultivation of the agriculture. So friends, I hope you are understanding these different parts of the plains, and physical features. They are very, very important from UPSC point of view. Okay. So now, after you understand these divisions of plains into various parts, Bhabar, Tarai, then Khadar, Bhabar, Tarai, Bhangar, and Khadar. Now let us understand the next division, that is Peninsular Plateau. Third division after Indian plain is a peninsular plateau. Peninsular plateau is a triangular thing. You can see this is a triangular thing. Okay, so this is a triangular thing called as a like a samosa. You are calling it as a peninsular plateau. So all the three sides are occupied by the water. So we call it as a peninsula. So peninsula is the oldest feature of the Indian subcontinent or Indian physiographical features. It is the oldest. It was a part of a supercontinent called as a Gondwana land that we are going to see later. Okay. So this peninsular India is a very, very old, millions and billions of years old. Himalaya and northern plains are the youngest plains. Okay. So this peninsular plateau or peninsula is a triangular shaped landmass attached to the south side of the India. So it has a various parts. So first is the central highland. So you can see this region is called as the central highland. So it is lying north to the Narmada river, and Malwa plateau is a part of this. So northern side of this part you have a Vindhyan Parvat, okay, you have Vindhyas, okay, you have a Satpuras. Then southern side you have a Satpura, and northern side you have a Vindhya. So southern side you have a Satpuras, northern side you have a Vindhyas. Eastern side you have a western side you have a Aravlis, and eastern side you have a other like Paras hills, Garjat hills. These hills are there on the eastern side. So here you have a Aravlis which are running from the southwest to northeast. Okay, it goes from Gujarat to Delhi ridge up to the Raisina hills in the Delhi. It goes up to there. So if you see, Aravlis are very, very important. Okay, so Aravlis, if you see, they are wider in their west, and as you move towards east, they get narrower and narrower. So here, Central Highland extend its parts in merges little bit with the Indian desert as well, and eastern extension is a Chota Nagpur plateau. So eastern extension over here is a Chota Nagpur plateau of the Central Highland. Now, as you come south of the Satpura, okay, south of the Satpura, you will get to see the Deccan Plateau. So here you can see the northern boundary of the Deccan Plateau is a Satpura range over here. Western boundary is a Western Ghat. Eastern boundary is a Eastern Ghat. And here in between there is a fault, and then we called as a Malda fault, and after that you have a Meghalaya and Kabri Anglong. So these are the broken parts of this Deccan Plateau. Now, this is again a triangular landmass. It is south of the Himalayas. It lies to south of the Narmada. Okay. So here it has a different ranges. You have a Kaimur ranges. You have a Maikal ranges, and so many ranges that we will see Mahadev hills, and so many hills are there. Okay, Balaghat ranges, Ajinkya Satmala, and so many ranges are Harishchandragarh. So many are there. So its slope is from west to east. Getting it? So that's why all the rivers are flowing from west to east. So this is about the Deccan Plateau. So Deccan Plateau was formed because of the volcanic eruption. Okay. So the volcanic eruption part or the lava where it was trapped is also known as a Deccan trap. That also we are going to see. So as I told you, it has an extension in the northeast. Deccan Plateau has an extension in the northeast in the form of Meghalaya and Kabri Anglong Plateau. This orange color is a Kabri Anglong Plateau, and this red color I am coloring with is a Meghalaya. It is a part of the Deccan Plateau because somewhere here near Malda there was a faulting or breakage happened. Because of that, Meghalaya and Kabri Anglong got separated from the Deccan Plateau. So they got separated from this Chotanagpur or the part of the Deccan Plateau. So now it has three important hills: Garo, Khasi, and Jaintia. They are also part of the Deccan Plateau. So Garo, Khasi, and Jaintia are part of the Meghalaya. Okay, they are not part of the Himalayas. Then western side, as I told you, you have a Western Ghat, and eastern side you have a Eastern Ghat. Now let us understand this Western and Eastern Ghat. So as we know, India is like this. So here you have a Western Ghat, and here you have a Eastern Ghat. So western margin of the peninsular plateau is a Western Ghat, or Deccan Plateau is a Western Ghat, and eastern margin of the peninsular plateau or Deccan Plateau, we are calling it as a is a Eastern Ghat. So what is the difference between Western Ghat and Eastern Ghat? So both have been formed by the different processes. Western, Western Ghat is a new formation. Eastern Ghat is the oldest formation. But height wise, if you see, height wise, Western Ghat is a higher than the Eastern Ghat. Western Ghat also we are going to see in the detail. Okay. In this chapter, we are going to see in a brief about Western Ghat and Eastern Ghat. So average height over here is a almost 900 to 1600 meters, and in the Eastern Ghat it is 600 meters. So it is stretching. Okay. So sorry, some Eastern Ghat features have been come over here. Eastern Ghat stretches from Mahanadi to the Nilgiri in the south. Okay. Western Ghat stretching from the Gujarat to the Kanyakumari. Okay. Height, if you see, height of the Western Ghat is increasing as you go down from north to south. Getting it? So here, as you go to the south, you'll see Anaimudi is the highest peak and Doda Betta is the second highest peak in the Western Ghat. So in the Eastern Ghat, they are discontinuous. Western Ghat is a continuous, but Eastern Ghat is a discontinuous range because various rivers are eroding the Eastern Ghat. Highest peak over here is a Mahendragiri, and there are famous hill station like Doda Betta is there, and Kodai Canal. Okay, so in the Western Ghat you have Uti, okay, and Eastern Ghat also you have various famous uh, places of the tourism. So this is the difference between Eastern Ghat and the Western Ghat. Now, once you understand the difference between the Eastern Ghat and Western Ghat, let us understand a little bit about Deccan Trap. So huge lava got trapped into this particular area, 5 to 6 kilometer thickness. It erupted and it made a tableland. We are calling it as a Deccan Trap. So it is in the Andhra, it is in the Karnataka, it is in the Maharashtra. Okay. So this Deccan Trap is of volcanic origin. When we'll see a physiographic division of India in detail, that time I will tell you how this trap was formed. So hotspot and plate tectonics, so many things we'll need to learn before knowing how the Deccan Trap has been formed. So this Deccan Trap is very important thing. Now let us understand next feature called as a Indian desert. Indian desert is a part of Rajasthan. As we know, Rajasthan lies to the northwestern part of the India, and these Indian deserts are one of the prominent features where you can see various sand dunes, crescent shaped dunes, Barchan dunes we had seen in the previous chapter. So half part of the Rajasthan or western part of the Aravallis. Aravallis are running like this. So western part of the Aravallis, you have a Indian desert. So they are very sandy. They receive very low rainfall. Why do they receive very low rainfall? That we are going to see in the climatology chapter. Okay. So 150 mm or 15 centimeter per year, that much low rainfall they receive. So naturally, there won't be any rivers, which will the very prominent rivers or big rivers. So rivers over here also disappear in the sand. Getting it? So what happens? They flow sometimes in the rainy season, and in the summer they start disappearing in the sand. They don't reach towards the sea. So they are called as ephemeral rivers. So there are so many ephemeral rivers are there in the Indian desert. So they disappear in the sand. So these streams, one of the famous stream is a Luni River. Okay, so this Luni rivers is the river is one of the ephemeral stream which is famous in the sand desert of the India. So the you can see that the different types of sand dunes are there in these deserts. Specifically, Barchan shaped dunes are very prominent over here. But on the India-Pakistan border, you will see long longitudinal dunes as well. Okay, so this Indian desert is in the news recently. The Hauba, this bustard, the Great Indian bustard, the artificial breeding of the Great Indian bustard has started in the Indian desert, and they have found first 10 or 10, 20 eggs of these bustards. So they will be reared and they will be uh, uh, relieved in the nature after few years. So it is going to take some 30 to 35 years for this Great Indian bustard population to come back. So it was in the news. I think you are reading the newspaper daily. Keep watch on this type of news. So next feature or the last feature of the Indian physiographic feature or second last feature is a coastal plain. So you can see this coastal plain 7,400 kilometers long, including the island coastal plain. It is running like this. So western coastal plains and eastern coastal plains, these are the two types of plains that we have. Western coastal plains, if you see, so in the Maharashtra and Gujarat, specifically in the Maharashtra, we are calling it as a Konkan coast. After that, in the Karnataka, we are calling it as a Kannada coast or Kannad plains. And in the Kerala, we are calling it as a Malabar plains in the Kerala. So their width goes increasing as you go from north to south. Width will increase as you are going from north to south. Now, eastern plains, they are northern side in the West Bengal, they are called as a northern Sirkar. And in the Andhra and Tamil Nadu, they are called as a Coromandel coast. Okay, so these are the two different terminologies given in the different part of the India, different part of this plain, and huge rivers are flowing over here. You have a Mahanadi, you have a Krishna, you have a Godavari, you have a Kaveri. Huge rivers are flowing through the eastern plains, not in the western plains. So one of the important lake over here is a Chilka Lake. Chilka Lake is the biggest salt water lake of the India. Getting it? So biggest water lake in the India, largest is the Chilka Lake. It is in the Odisha. So there are so many characters we are going to see. Slowly we will move forward to these characters. Okay. So these are the plains of the coastal plains of the India. Now the last feature of the Indian physiography is the islands. So on the eastern and western side of the India, we have islands. Western side we have a Lakshadweep Islands, and eastern side we have a Andaman Nicobar Islands. So these Lakshadweep Islands are of coral origins. Corals, what are the corals? So we will see this. So they are of coral origins. So Lakshadweeps means 1 lakh. So all my lakhs of islands are there. They are called as a Lakshadweep Island. So coral, because of the coral formation, they have been originated. And on the eastern side, we have a Andaman Nicobar Island. Andaman Nicobar are the extensions of the Patkaigum Mountains in the sea. So they are nothing but at the top parts of the mountain as it is believed. So these are the Andaman Nicobar Islands. So we can call them as well as submarine mountains. Okay, so these are the Andaman Nicobar Islands, and strategically they are very important. Now they are also in the news as China-India confrontation happened in the Galwan Valley and in the Ladakh. So Indian Army is trying to deploy more uh, troops on the Andaman Nicobar Island because they are one of the strategic choke points. If tomorrow war happens with the China, they will be strategic choke point for the Malacca Strait. Okay, so they are very important from the perspective of the Indian defense. So friends, these are very important features of the Indian physiology. So I hope you have understood these Indian physiological features. Last part of this, as I have told you about corals, let us talk something a little bit about corals. Corals are a type of living organisms. We call them as a coral polyps. So their body is made up of calcium. So when they die, so they get deposited at the bottom of the ocean, and another corals grow on the dead coral. So they keep on growing. So living coral, there are association between coral polyp and alga. So because of this beautiful color of the coral is because of the algas which are there under the ocean. So they are present in the different format. Like they are present in the format of reef, like barrier reef, fringing reef, atolls. Atoll means circular type of lagoon. It's formed because of the coral. Inside you have all water, okay, and this is the boundary of the lagoon, which is formed because of the corals. So there are various conditions for the formation of the coral, like depth should not be much, salinity of the water should be particular, water should not be polluted. So they need some platform to attach themselves. Getting it? So the Great Australian Barrier Reef near Queensland, you might have heard about this. Okay, so these are the very famous types of coral reefs in the world. Also, there are coral triangles in the Southeast Asia, and our islands are also made up of corals. We are going to see again this chapter. Okay, so I hope you have understood this ninth standard, second chapter, physiographic divisions of India. Very important, very important from the point of view of UPSC preliminary exam as well as mains exam. Okay, now let us understand some MCQs based on this chapter. I think it will be very simple for you guys. Okay, landmass bounded by the sea on the three sides side is referred as definitely peninsula, as I have told you. Mountain ranges in the eastern part of the India forming its boundary with the Myanmar are called as, yes, Purvanchal. The western coast strip south of the Goa is known as, yes, south of the Goa, you have a Kannada. The highest peak in the Eastern Ghat, yes, Eastern Ghat, Mahendragiri. It's one of the famous pilgrim place as well as uh, trekking place. Okay, so guys, I hope you have understood this chapter. If you have a doubt, please let me know. So this is a very important chapter. So that's why I have taken much time today to deal with this chapter. So go through nicely in this chapter and take down all the notes. Okay, thank you. See you tomorrow for the next chapter.